Okay, we're recording. So welcome, we're back doing our second Saturday. And today what we're going to be talking about is demonstrated interest. But as just a reminder, these are recorded. They're going to be every month, second Saturday. And the goal is for us to talk about a topic that is something that sometimes I don't end up talking about in our one-on-one meetings, but it's really important. And this one's going to be so key because it's not something that your counselors at school probably spend a lot of time talking about. So let's just start going through it. So today we're going to talk about demonstrated interest. You're going to hear me use the term DI because I get bored and tired of saying demonstrated interest the whole time. And in a minute, we'll find out why. So last time we talked about how recommendations are a big part of decisions that the colleges are going to make about your application. This is another factor. So let's talk about what it is. Essentially, what it is the interest and enthusiasm, the curiosity that you show about a college or to a college. In other words, we want to make sure that they know that you are interested in them. So why do they care about whether you're interested in them or not? Surely like the application shows you're interested, right? Well, here's a clue. So this is a piece of research that was done in 2017 by the National Association of College Admissions Counselors. And it shows the decision factors that schools are using that answered the survey. And you'll notice the top ones are things we've talked about before, and you'll see recommendations are in there, like we talked about the last time. Over 40% of schools said that a student's demonstrated interest in coming to the school was either considerably important or of moderate importance. So with more schools taking test scores off the table and going test optional, you'll notice that admissions test scores are number 4 on that list. And these are all listed in terms of importance. Will those go away? Demonstrated interest is going to be that much more important. So I just want to make sure that you know about it because oftentimes this is something that you're not aware of. So why do they care about this? And it's just one word, and that word is yield. And no, we're not talking about the traffic sign. We're talking more about yield the way that we think about it in the farming aspect. Like yield is what you're going to collect as a college. So yield, the definition of it is the percentage of students who enroll after they've been accepted. So yield is ultimately something that's important to schools because of 3 reasons. One is a higher yield indicates either a measure of quality or popularity in the school, right? If you said, hey, I'm about to accept a school where only 10% of the students actually say yes to an invitation, that's probably not a party that you really want to go to, right? You want to go to a party where there's 90% of the students that are accepting their invitations. Yield is also, this is kind of behind the scenes stuff, but yield is a big factor in how those rankings are done. So you guys may have heard of US News and World Report and the rankings that they use or that they develop. And those rankings use yield as a big measure of where a school fits into the rankings. And then the third thing is really just money. Yield drives college revenue. The more students that accept invitations, the more butts fill the seats, the more students in the dormitories. And eventually, at the end of the day, college is a business. So these are really important factors for the schools behind the scenes. So ultimately, they want to offer admission to students who will accept their invitation, which means they need to know how interested in them are you. Help us predict if you will accept. Actually, this is an entire industry now that's come to the fore, which is enrollment management driven by data analytics. So they are looking at data to try to figure out, are you someone who is going to show them the love and be interested? So let's talk about how it is that you go about showing your interest to colleges. And some of them are really obvious about what they want and how they want it. So what I did was I pulled a quick little video from a college that is very strong in using demonstrated interest. So we're going to hear from a couple minutes from American University.
Hi, I'm Katie Erickson, an Assistant Director of Admissions here at AU. These days, there are so many different ways to show your interest in something. You can like, comment, heart, share, the list goes on. But did you know that universities also want to feel the love? That's right, we want to hear from students who have interacted with us during the admissions process. In admissions speak, we call this demonstrating interest. These interactions can be as simple as emailing with your admissions representative. And luckily, there are many ways to demonstrate interest here at AU. One of the most common ways is to visit our campus, which typically includes an information session led by a member of our admissions staff and a guided walking tour of campus by an AU student ambassador. Applicants can also choose to do an admissions interview. These interviews are non-evaluative and provide the chance to sit down with an admissions representative to ask questions and allow us to get to know you better. Some students may want an in-depth campus experience where students can experience a day in the life of an AU student. During the fall and spring semesters, we offer day visits, which give prospective students the opportunity to shadow a current student ambassador. During a day visit, students will sit in on a class and enjoy a meal in the AU dining hall. We recognize that your high school years are busy and want to give every applicant the chance to connect with AU. You'll find that in addition to visiting campus, you can meet with an AU admissions representative near your hometown. This is a great way to learn more about AU and show your interest. You'll find that our team visits many parts of the country and even internationally. It is common to see us visiting your high school, participating in a college fair, and offering interviews in your hometown. So keep an eye out for us. There's a chance we'll be in your hometown soon. And now more than ever, students are connecting with colleges and universities digitally. We frequently host online webinars to give you flexibility and convenience to connect with AU in a space that you are familiar with. And as always, one of the best ways to connect with us is by emailing your admissions representative. No matter how you do it, we would love to connect with you soon. My name is Katie, and this is what AU looks for.
So in this instance, AU is really obvious about the fact that they track it and they want it. Some schools are not so obvious about it. So the question is, how do you know who on your list, because you guys are all working on building your college list, how do you know, how do you decide who tracks it? So whoever would like to show me their screen, if you go to Big Future, does somebody have it up that wants to share? You don't have to talk, you just have to show your screen. And if you guys are shy, I'll do it myself. Anybody?
It won't let you do it as long as you are doing it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Go ahead. Nice. Thanks, Owen. All right. So what you're going to do is let's go search for American U. That's the one. It's in DC. Okay, so what you're going to look for is under applying on the left-hand side, because that's what we want to find out about. And then if you scroll slightly down this screen, you will see what's important. And they list it right away, right? So let's look at this whole list and see what they say. So what do you notice? Under very important, you have academic GPA, you have level of applicants' interest, you have rigor of secondary school record. That's your high school, right? So they say it right up front. It is one of our very important characteristics. So if you were applying to American, and by the way, somebody in this group has definitely got that on their list, this is key, right? They have said outright, we want to know that you're interested. So it's pretty obvious. Okay, Owen, would you please look up Tulane, Tulane. This is a university in Louisiana. It's in New Orleans. So let's see how they do it. Click on applying. And then let's scroll down. Okay, so what do we notice here? We notice that it's not in the very important category. It's not even in the important category, but it is in the considered category. So if you have Tulane on your list, this is something to spend some time on. And if you have a list of 12 schools, you'll prioritize, right? Based on your research that you've done of where this falls in the level of interest. Now, if you were to go to a school, let's say, Owen, would you please search on Stanford? There you go. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so what you'll notice is level of interest is nowhere to be found. Why is that? That's because pretty much everybody is interested in Stanford, or they get so many applications that this is not something they even care about, because they're not worried about their rankings. Stanford is going to be at the top of their rankings all the time because it's a perennial one, right? So that's what you're going to find is the schools, and you can stop sharing your screen now. Thank you for that. What you're going to find is that the schools that are at the top of the rankings are the ones that are going to be less concerned about demonstrated interest. Although we'll talk in a minute about how it's probably still a good idea to be paying attention to that. So I'm going to just show you one other one. It's another one that's awfully popular with a lot of my students, and that is Texas Christian University. They, a lot like Tulane, include it, and it's considered, and you'll see it there at the bottom. So the other thing that colleges like about demonstrated interest is they'll often reply to college counselors like us who say, hey, these kids are too busy to be sending you emails. They say, well, they love it because they want you to begin advocating for yourself and taking control of your college journey. And it also prepares you well for interacting with professors. So the big thing, I think, in addition to that, is these colleges make their decisions in committees. And there are regional representatives associated with each one of these colleges, and they have Northern California reps or a California rep. And if you've demonstrated interest to them, they can advocate for you in these committee sessions. If there's ever any question, they can say, hey, I've met Owen, or I've had a conversation with Ryder, or Carter's been emailing me, has really interesting questions about the school, and I know what his plans are. So these are people, and they know your people. So it's really helpful to be making sure that you're paying attention to that. So what does it look like when they're looking at demonstrated interest? So I just want you to know, yes, Big Brother is watching you. We talked about how this data analytics stuff has permeated into the college environment. They are tracking it all, whether there's a phone call to you or from you to them, whether your parent has called, whether you've emailed them, whether you've opened an email from them, whether you've clicked a link in an email, and if you've taken the SAT, ACT, or PSAT. Oftentimes they are collecting information that you've written. They're buying that data from the College Board and the ACT people. So I want to give you kind of an inside look. We did a little bit of this behind the curtain look last time with the recommendations, where I showed you the actual document that the recommenders fill out. This is from a college called Trinity College in Connecticut. They track demonstrated interest. And this is what it looks like from their end. And so what you'll notice on the right-hand side are all the ways that they touched a particular student. The things that are in yellow are the student coming to them. The things that are not in yellow are them reaching out to the student. So you'll see that, that there were reminders sent, there were emails that were sent, and then they received notes from the student. Now on the left-hand side at the bottom, what you'll see is their tracking of the types of contact that they've received from this particular student. And you'll notice they actually have notes as to what the conversation was about. So they are tracking quite a lot of detail, and it's to your benefit to know this and to take advantage of it if you're applying to those schools where interest is a big part of the decision making. So this is how it goes with Texas Christian, another university that tracks this. So at the top of the middle there, you'll see this thing that says QLTY PTS. For Texas Christian and a lot of other schools, they take your application, all the information about you and all the contact they've had with you, and they distill it down into something called quality points. And the higher the quality points, the more likely it is they're going to admit you and that you are going to accept. So this is what they're tracking. You'll notice that they are looking at your recommenders, and each of these recommenders is a teacher. So they're looking at the curriculum strength, who the reader is, and some information about them. And at the very bottom of this page, you'll notice there's a little checkbox for demonstrated interest. And then they're rating the student on a number scale for the strength of that demonstrated interest. Okay, so you might be thinking, I don't have to worry about this because the colleges that I'm planning to apply to don't use this. Like right now, the UCs, the CSUs in California are not planning on using this. And there are other schools that sort of don't care about this too much, or at least that's what they've told us. But before you sort of decide that this is not something that matters, I want you to consider doing it anyway. Why? Okay, well, it's going to help you know that the college is the right place for you. The fact is you're all doing research on your college lists right now, and it's likely that some of this research has already triggered a demonstrated interest sensor. So you're doing this anyway. This research and this contact with the schools gives you your why. Many of these schools, even if they don't track demonstrated interest, are going to ask you to write a why do you want to come to Pepperdine? Or why is Colorado School of Mines the right place for you? And you need to have a pretty good answer. And it can't just be because you have the major that I want, right? Because how many other students are going to rank that? You need to explain how it is that the school is the right place for you. And one of the best ways to do that is to be armed with some really specific information that you've gleaned from conversations with the folks at that particular university. The other thing is we're in really weird times with all these schools going test optional. And the data that I showed you before, the stuff that Owen shared on his screen, is from last year's decisions. So not the decisions that students are hearing today and this month, but for the class of 2020. So stuff changes. So I don't want us to be unaware of that. And it's possible that colleges may change their criteria and may decide that demonstrated interest is a lot more important because they have so many fewer data points to use. Like the colleges said, demonstrated interest also helps you develop your own self-advocacy skills. And it's really good practice for when you're on your own dealing with colleges. So the video from AU mentioned a couple of ways, but I want to give you sort of a more complete list of ways that you can do this. You can request information. That's probably the least intimidating, right? Every college has on their website a click this to get more information. So you'll be on their email list and then you'll be on their mailing list. Super easy, not time consuming at all. By the way, something to think about, you probably are all getting tons of emails from all different kinds of colleges. Once you've got that college list set and you know your criteria, feel free to delete all those other emails because they're really distracting and they're putting out that fishing hook with a big thing of bait on it. Like, I'm going to email you, and they're trying to see if you're going to glomp onto the bait. So if it's not of interest to you, it's just much easier and will save you a lot of time to just delete all of those, or set up a filter in your email box just for those colleges that you're interested in, so that that's really all you end up seeing. Okay, contact your admissions officer. Some colleges make this easy and some make it a little bit more difficult. When you get to the point where your list is fairly solid, I'm going to assign all of you to do this. And if you have trouble finding the contact information, I will help you with that. Definitely responding to emails. Once you are on an email list of a college that you're interested in, make sure you respond. If they ask for a response, make sure you open them. Make sure you're clicking on the links to go investigate what they are sending you. Attend virtual info sessions. This has never been easier. In the age of COVID, the colleges have gotten 1,000% better at offering virtual options, which is probably a lot easier. So you can do like you're doing now, turn off your microphone, close the screen, do something else while you listen. But I guarantee you're going to find something out about that school that'll either make it rise up on your list, or you can say, hey, oh, I didn't know that about this school. I want to find out more, or this is a no-go for me. Really valuable to do that. Visit and tour in person or virtually. You guys are in different states, some of you, so you need to check what your local guidelines are for visiting colleges, but a lot of colleges are doing in-person visits now. Even just driving around a campus, it would be better than zero, right? And there are all kinds of, the YouTube channel, there are virtual visits and 360 tours that you can take that are really helpful. Attend college fairs, events, and webinars. We sort of talked about that. Follow and like on social media. Every college has a YouTube channel. They're likely on Snapchat. They're all on Instagram. They're all on Facebook. You can find them in a variety of different ways. I know some schools are even now on Discord. They're on TikTok, which is a little crazy, but go find them, follow them, be a little bit of a stalker, especially if the college is using demonstrated interest as one of the mechanisms for decisions. And then maybe the most important is when we get to this point, apply early, because you putting in the effort really tells a college that you are super interested. We are seeing, in terms of results, those colleges that they're using early decision, which is the binding form of an application, are really seeing huge numbers in response to students, because they love that. We'll talk about that another time, but just have it in your mind that if a school offers some early application options, that might be something to consider. Unfortunately, for those of you who are applying to the University of California system and the CSU system, there is no early application, but the timing of those deadlines is the end of November, which is about the time that all the other private colleges are going to ask for early decisions anyway. So those timelines will work. They'll line up with one another. Okay, so here's your homework. Before you and I meet the next time, for those of you meeting with me today, obviously you get a grace period. I want you to show interest to a college on your list or one you're considering. And I want it to be not just like, okay, I liked them on Facebook, although I'm sure none of you are on Facebook, but you know what I'm saying? Like, do something significant. Go find some information, attend a webinar. If you have trouble with that, ask me and I will guide you and put you in the right direction. And when you've done that, I want you to drop me a text and let me know what you did. And we'll talk about it at our next meeting. Okay, lecture over. I'm going to stop my, well, I'll keep sharing my screen, but I want to know, what kinds of questions has this raised for you guys? Anybody have any thoughts or comments? Don't be shy. I have a question somebody asked me before the session, so I'm happy to do that. And if nobody has a question. So one of the questions I got from somebody who said they couldn't be here was, are certain kinds of demonstrated interest better than others? And the answer to that is maybe. It depends on the school, depends on what they track. But I would say the deeper the contact, the better, right? So a like on Facebook or a follow on Instagram is good. Better would be attending a webinar. Why? Because you're more likely to get more out of the contact that you have with the webinar than you are from the follow on Instagram. Because who knows if their stories are compelling or if they're putting anything good up on Instagram. So don't just do it for demonstrated interest, but also do it for the fact that you're going to learn something about it. All right. We're done. I promised a half an hour, so we're 3 minutes shy. Anybody have anything else they want to ask or comment on? Guys. Awesome. Well, I assume everything is perfectly clear and the information is good. I'm going to send you on your way. Have a great rest of the day. I will see you, Owen, later this afternoon. And take care, you guys. I hope you found this helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.